All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan. I'm the pastor and executive director here. This is Carrie. She is the associate executive director here. Good to be with you all on this Saturday night, and with all of you joining us online, welcome to Free. We're glad you're here tonight. Glad you're part of this community. This is a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here is break the silence of addiction while creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And there's always one thing we don't do here in this community. You can shout it out on the count of three. If you're online, shout it out at home or your sober living house, wherever you are. Type it in, shout it out, do what you do. 1, 2, 3. We don't do shame, but Carrie will tell you some things coming up that you might want to know about. Yes. Is your mic on?
Hello.
There you go.
Hi. If you guys are new with us, we are glad that you're here. We would love to get to know you guys. So after service, come find Ryan or myself, and we're going to get you hooked up with a welcome bag. Inside the welcome bag, you'll find some fresh roasted wagon coffee by the extraordinary Tammy Canaday, who will be up here in a little bit, and her wonderful team at Wagon Coffee. You'll also find some free swag, as well as our Connect card. Our Connect card is how you guys get connected, get on our mailing list so you know who our guest storyteller is each week, what events we have going on. We had Sober Open Mic. That was Thursday. That was an extraordinary event.
Was anyone here for Sober Open Mic night? Yeah, these are great events. We do them every other month, and man, the talent that gets up on the stage, the bravery, people oftentimes new in their recovery, and man, it's just such a good evening. Check out the next one. There's one more left this year in 2025, and it's in November.
And you can also go on the live stream and go watch it in the past.
Yeah,
not in
YouTube.
the past, but...
You can watch it. That would be awkward to watch it in the
No,
past.
watch it in the past, but you can rewatch
a past
it.
live stream. There
Yes,
you go. There
yes.
you go.
It's an extraordinary, again, the talent there is just extraordinary. We also have, I'm totally blanking. I was thinking about Sober Open Mic.
Questions.
Oh, yeah, that's probably why. I'm like, no,
You're
I
trying
don't
to
want
get out of it.
Yeah, I think I am trying to get out of it. I really don't want to do this, guys. So I need your help.
That means you got to be nice next week.
Yeah, I'm really asking for some easy softball pitches. So here's the deal. So we had a couple months ago, Ryan was our guest storyteller, and I got to work with Drew, who came and he delivered the sermon, and he also interviewed him, and I had such a fun time because Drew sent me his questions, and I was like, no. Scratch all these. You got to go deeper. You got to go for that gut punch right away because we only have 15 minutes. The problem with that is sometimes payback isn't all that fun.
She opened up all my childhood wounds, and now we get to do it to her.
But in a nice way. Well, you're not getting out of this, my friend. And so what we're doing is we're going to kind of have a different evening next Saturday.
Yes. Can I preface it first?
Sure.
We're doing this because we're starting a new series tonight. It's a 2-week series called Better Questions, Deeper Faith. And it's the idea of questions. Sometimes we have these big, deep questions that we've never felt comfortable to ask. We're embarrassed to ask them. And church spaces, religion hasn't always done a good job at saying it's good to ask questions. Sometimes we see them as a threat. We try to do it different here. So this week, normal week, then next week is what you're referring to, and tell them what we're going to do.
Yes, and so they're fully anonymous too. So we're asking you to submit your questions to Ben. So Ben's our community operations director. Think so? Director? Manager. And you're going to email Ben at freerecoverycommunity.com. This includes you guys online. You can drop your questions emailing them. So we will address them, but we're not going to know what they are ahead of time. So Ryan and I will have absolutely no idea what the questions are, and we're going to engage them. So we may not actually have an answer for you, but we're going to be willing to walk through those tough questions with you. So be nice, be gentle, but also don't be afraid to ask, because chances are you're not the only one thinking it.
Yeah, when you voice your big questions, there's a good chance the person sitting next to you has asked that same question, or they have that same wondering. So something powerful happens when we get the questions out and open.
And
so it's going to be fun next week. We'll sit up here and engage some questions.
Be nice, friends. All right.
Excellent. All right, thank you, Carrie. The way we get started here on a Saturday night is with celebrations. We lift up the good. We start with the good. Maybe you're celebrating a sobriety anniversary, birthday, or maybe something new in your life or recovery. We celebrate it all here. We take 3 minutes for this. It's a profound part of our time together each week to cheer for one another, clap for one another. God joins with us in these celebrations. So if you're online, drop your celebration in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments. We'll join with you there. And for those of you in-house, Russ has a mic. All you got to do is put up your hand, and Russ will bring you the mic, and you can voice your celebration into the mic. We'll take 3 minutes. This time is yours.
I'm Kai, and I'm celebrating 925 days free of fentanyl.
925. Way to go, Kai. Congratulations. We have to do math to figure out how many years that is. Months.
Well, I have two things to celebrate. One, this wonderful church. I discovered it. It's in my service tonight. Thank you. The second thing is I've got over 40 years in AA, and I'm going to the Balloon Festival in New Mexico on the 4th and 5th. And my sponsor, who has over 50 years, my original sponsor, lives down there, and I'm going to be able to see her. It's been 25 years since I've seen her, so that'll be kind of pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll celebrate that, and glad you're here. The Balloon Festival.
Hi, I'm Philip. I'm celebrating just a little over 2 weeks since my last drink.
All right, Philip, glad you're here, buddy.
We have the token for you.
Yes, I forgot to mention, we have coins for anyone celebrating anything 30 days or under. You get a coin, and those are kind of cool coins.
Hi, I'm Wendy. I have so many things to celebrate about, but today I'll celebrate my new friendship with Amber here
All right.
from our recovery group. So
Yeah, we'll celebrate friendship. Good to have you here, Wendy and Amber.
I'm Nikki. I just wanted to give Russ a hug and celebrate seeing him. We've been friends for a long time, so it's good to see you, buddy.
Ah, yeah, it's good to have you both here. We'll celebrate that.
My name's Harry. On October 2nd, I'll be 22 years sober.
All right, Harry, happy 22 years. Congratulations.
My name is Weston, and I just celebrated 100 days sober.
Way to go, Weston. Weston on the tech team. Proud of you, buddy. Anyone else? We got time for one or two more. Going once. Twice. Oh, right behind you, Russ.
My name is Julia. I just celebrated my son Jack, which some of you might know. His birthday, 42 years old,
All
2
right.
days ago. He might be watching.
All right, happy birthday, Jack. If you're watching, happy birthday, dude. We're celebrating you. Thank you, Russ. And Tammy, she was described as the extraordinary Tammy candidate, will join me up here. Thank you, Russ, for passing around the mic. Do you have a celebration? Sometimes you have a celebration when you come up here.
I do. I brought my phone
You
because I
do?
was going to
Oh.
read something.
All right.
So today, local Coffee Talk magazine launched a story on Wagon, which also included information about Free and Café in our community. And they did this amazing write-up, but I just wanted to read a little snippet of it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
If that's okay. I don't have my glasses, so bear with me, guys. Recovery work is beautiful. It's also brutal. Alongside the miracles and losses that split a room open, relapses that end in funerals, absences that echo, the emotional toll is real. The team makes counseling a regular part of life, not a last resort. They lean on mentors, friends, and each other. And they practice boundaries with as much rigor and practice as cupping protocols go. A phrase often heard is, "We don't do shame, but we do boundaries." This spares everyone the false choice between compassion and self-protection. The guardrails keep the doors open and the work human.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I thought that was so good.
Should we celebrate that? We'll celebrate the write-up. Where can people find the article?
It is on localcoffeetalk.com.
Local Coffee Talk.
It's a digital version right now, and then the hard copy version will be coming out in October. So
Very cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
we'll have some copies here, so I'll share them with you when they come out.
All right, shall we join our online people?
Yeah. Hi, Mark. He says, celebrating that my work season is coming to an end on Saturday nights, so I can be at Free live and in person.
All right, Mark. We look forward to having you here, brother. Kaylin says 30 days clean off fentanyl.
Nice.
Way to go, Kaylin. Congratulations. Keep on going.
Eileen, hello. This is my first time at Free. Welcome,
Welcome
Eileen.
to Eileen. We're glad you're here. Make yourself at home wherever you are. Claire says, today's my oldest son's Ethan birthday is 25, and Wednesday will be 3 years sober. So grateful. We're celebrating that with you, Claire. Keep on going, Ethan, and happy birthday to you.
And Kaylin says, the WRNCA, Women's Retreat of Colorado Narcotics Anonymous, committee met today, and I got nominated to be the web social media chairman. Very excited.
All right,
Very
Kaylin.
cool.
Congratulations
Thanks, Kaylin.
on that. Go knock it out. Maya says, hi, this is my first time joining. Well, you're the second person who said that tonight. I just celebrated 6 years sober, watching from Pennsylvania. That is PA, right? Pennsylvania, yes. Looking to get back into the rooms, hoping to hear something I need to hear as I have a lot going on right now. Maya, we're glad you're here. We're celebrating you being here.
And
6
congrats
years
on 6
sober.
years.
Yeah. All right, was that it? That was it? Thank you, Tammy, for being up here.
Welcome.
You can just, put it on the couch. All right, y'all, as I said, we're starting this new, just a very short 2-week series on, why questions matter. We're calling this one Better Questions, Deeper Faith. Well, according to Barna research, 27% of churchgoers feel church is not a safe place to bring doubts and hard questions. 36% said they can't ask their most pressing life questions in church. 23% reported significant intellectual doubts about their faith. And y'all do know it's too common for religious folk to respond and say things like, you just have to pray more. You just have to read your Bible more. And you do know God is not pleased with all your questions and your rebellion. So let's just start here. Your questions are welcome here. God is not afraid of or threatened by them. Religion might be, but God is not. And in my experience, you cannot get to a deeper spiritual path without some honest questions in your life. Some of you know that the college years, they were like a very mixed bag for me. Because on one hand, the college years, that's when my addiction really started to pick up some steam and I really started to go. And on the other hand, it was also the time when I started asking some really big questions, honest questions about God and my faith, and they were questions that I was never allowed to ask. And y'all, I can tell you, it took some time for me to realize this, but you do know God is active in your life even when you're active in addiction. Like, in other words, it's not like you just got clean and sober and then God arrived on a scene and started working in your life. Or you got help as a loved one and God just automatically showed up and started working in your life. No, even when you were making a mess of things, God was active even when you were active in your addiction. And you say, yeah, but Ryan, I didn't feel it. Well, yeah, I know you didn't feel it. I didn't either. We were numbing it out. We were putting up barriers to substance or whatever the thing was. It was a barrier between us and God, us and the spiritual. And here I was at a new college just after tragedy had struck in my life. It was the death of my brother, 3 years older than me, died of this disease of addiction. And here's what I know about suffering. Pay attention to those tragedies in your life. Pay attention to that suffering. Because, see, suffering has the power to crack something open in you, and when that thing cracks open, you will find yourself asking and saying things you never asked or said before. And some of you also know that I was born and raised in the Christian religion. Not just Christianity, but a very particular sect of it. I was born and raised in the conservative evangelical church of the Midwest, which meant that we had answers, we had certainty, we had things figured out. And I can tell you the problem, it started to fall apart for me somewhere along the way, and the problem was not a lack of information. No, man, we read the Bible all the time. I had much of it memorized. The problem wasn't even a lack of passion. Man, I gave myself to the Faith Project when I was a little boy, and by the age of 17, I said I wanted to be a pastor. The problem was I was never allowed to ask my most pressing questions. In fact, to do so, we were told that it was a sign of disobedience. It was a sign of a lack of faith. And here I was, 21 years old, studying the New Testament at this new college, and I was hungry for the real. Things had fallen apart enough. I wasn't afraid anymore to poke holes in things. And I was questioning everything. Everything was on the table for me to be questioned. And thank God I had a really good New Testament professor, and sometimes what he did is he opened up his home late into the night. And sometimes it was just me, and sometimes it was a small group of students, and he allowed us to sit in his living room and ask our biggest questions. And what I noticed is rarely did he just answer these questions, but he walked through the questions with us. Walked through a process of how to even approach these big questions that we were asking, and everything was on the table for me. Questions I was never allowed to ask, like, is the Bible even true? And is being gay a sin? And what about suffering? I mean, why all the suffering? And if this God is all powerful, all potent, powerful, if God is all powerful, omnipotent, then why doesn't this God stop the evil and stop some of the suffering? And I can tell you these questions were very uncomfortable for me to put words to, but I couldn't keep these questions in anymore. Things were falling apart. It felt like I was losing everything I had. And it took me time. It took me time to see new perspectives. Not only to see new perspectives, but to then see through the lens of a new perspective. It was very difficult. Questions like, is the Bible even real? Is it true? Well, that depends. How do you define truth? What is truth? And I don't mean to get in a big philosophical conversation. I just mean really, how do you think about truth? Is it just a list of facts? Is it just a list of this literally happened and this didn't literally happen? How do you think of truth? Is truth the stories that define you to your core? They define you, they shape your soul. I mean, what is truth? It took me a long time to stop reading the Bible as a science book and just a list of what happened and what didn't happen, or even a history book, and there is some history in it. But to begin reading the Bible as these stories that were written by these ancient communities trying to figure out their experiences with God, and somehow they thought these stories were important enough to write down, and somehow these stories have endured. And is being gay a sin? Well, rather than answer that question, let's just think about all the questions that come with that, because it totally depends on how you approach the Scripture. What is the Bible? I mean, it all depends on that. Is the Bible authoritative? And if so, what kind of authority does it have? Or is the Bible, again, just a list of rights and wrongs, of do's and don'ts? And as long as you find the right list and abide by it, or is the Scripture a sacred tool that helps us better engage the conversation of God's love for all people? Better engage the conversation, give us a new lens for every person you encounter to see them through the lens of a divine image, that they too are created by God, that everyone is God's children. And still, what do you do with suffering? I mean, why all the suffering? And if this all-powerful God is real, then why won't this God stop some of the suffering and stop some of the hatred and the evil, the violence that we see today? Well, it raises some questions, doesn't it? I mean, who is God? Okay, and who are we? And if we have free will, can God really just step in and just magically overstep the free will and make everything go away? And I'm told to be careful when asking these questions. Religious people will tell you, be very careful, this is dangerous. Because they'll say things like, Ryan, you do know God's ways are above our ways and we can't understand it. And Ryan, you know God has a plan for this. And I say, really? God has a plan for it? Maybe we have forgotten that 3 million children globally died last year of starvation. And then I'm told God has a plan for this. I mean, how convenient for us to say that living here in Denver, Colorado, while 3 million people die, children die of starvation. Living here, God bless America, where we can stuff our faces full of food until we throw up. Even if you are financially poor, you can do that. And y'all, I raise these questions to ask you, do you see how these questions, they lead to more questions and hopefully better questions? And in my experience, better questions lead to a deeper faith if you give yourself to the process. But man, my New Testament professor, Dr. Tom Phillips, he welcomed my questions. He gave me permission to keep asking the questions, to keep seeking. And I can also tell you it was one of the hardest and most needed seasons of my life. And it came on the heels of suffering. And see, he walked with me. And we've become good, lifelong friends. When I got sober and into recovery, he was a great support to me, still a great support to me to this day. And I can tell you, his organization, the DTL, the Digital Theological Library, is publishing the book that I just completed. And I can't wait to share it with you when it comes out next month. It's titled, We Don't Do Shame, How Belonging Heals What Addiction Breaks. And here's what I know. I would not be here where I am today without honest questions. So as we move about the evening, I would ask you to reflect, who are the ones who created safe space for you to ask your biggest questions? Who are the ones who walk with you? Who are the ones who are willing to have the hard conversations with you and sit with the questions? And here's the reason, 3 reasons why I believe questions are so central to the spiritual journey. The first reason is this, because see, questions, they move us beyond inherited religion, the things that were just handed to you. Number 2, questions lead to encounter, not just information. I hope you get the difference. And number 3, questions, if you allow them, they will create space for awe and wonder. Did you know there's a fascinating book in the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible? It's called Job. Anyone read Job? Highly recommend the book of Job. Very fascinating. Job, J-O-B, he's the main character in this story. And in fact, the story starts out by telling us that Job was considered a righteous man. But the thing about Job was he underwent like an immense amount of unimaginable suffering in his life. And you read through this long book, it's 42 chapters, read through it. Highly recommend it because I think it so vividly describes the spiritual journey that we all go through. But the whole book is about his suffering, and in the midst of the suffering, it's this relentless questioning of God. God, who are you? God, why are you allowing this suffering? God, why don't you stop this suffering? The whole book is about this. And at the very end of the book, and always pay attention to the end, that's when the wisdom bombs are dropped usually. At the very end of the book, Job and God are in this conversation, and Job drops this fascinating line, and see if you relate to it. See if this describes the recovery journey. My ears had heard about you, past tense, but now, present tense, my eyes have seen you. There's a difference, isn't there? I heard about you. Maybe Job was even born and raised in religion. He knew some things about God, but he had some experiences. He had some hardship, and now he experiences God. Now he sees God. And it wasn't information that led him there. It wasn't just give me more information so I can better understand. It will never be information. It was an experience, an encounter that allowed him to see. And y'all, I point that out to say, your questioning is not a threat. Your questioning is central to your spiritual growth. And maybe you're here tonight and you've been relying on this kind of secondhand faith, the things that people told you, the information that was passed down to you, the information you were just told to take and swallow. Well, have you experienced a deeper spiritual level? Have you experienced God? And maybe you were even told that when this was being handed down to you, you had some questions, but you were told your questions aren't really welcome, that your questions are just a sign of disobedience. Your questions are a lack of faith. And I would tell you, keep asking your biggest questions. They might be leading you somewhere. Do you know when I got into recovery at the age of 30, I got clean and sober and into active recovery? Well, that was a very difficult time for me because it raised more questions, and I thought I had the thing figured out. I thought I had some answers, and instead getting into recovery, it brought about doubts and more questions, and the God stuff, the spiritual, was so confusing to me. And then my sponsor tells me I have to admit that as a pastor, I am spiritually disconnected. And that even raised some more questions. And then in recovery, what I found was I had to build a faith that was real. It could not be a secondhand faith. That I had to actually experience God and seek God on a daily basis. And see, I had to do away with all the Christian platitudes that were in me from the time I was a little boy, like that Christian platitude that told me, oh, don't you worry, Ryan, God will never give you more than you can handle. And I had to come to see that as absolute BS. I went through addiction. Addiction was more than I could handle. Now I have to rely on grace on a daily basis. I have to rely on God on a daily basis. That's very different than answers. And see, for those of you in recovery, think about it. Do you remember picking up your 24-hour chip? Yeah. For those of you with a little time, do you remember picking up your 30-day chip? And did you do it with trembling hands and a head full of doubt, wondering if you really had what it takes, wondering if you could really make it through? And yet, when you get down the road a little bit, you see that, wait a minute, your doubt, it didn't disqualify you. That the doubt had to be there. It was all part of the journey. And like Job, maybe somewhere along the way, you're able to see now that you heard about God, you had some information, but now you have experienced and you actually see differently. And see, think about it. That chip, it did not represent certainty. It represented willingness. And maybe you even discovered that beautiful truth that the questions and the doubts, they walk right alongside hope. And see, I always think it's interesting when we're talking about questions and doubts, I always think it's interesting that Jesus was never bothered by doubt. Why are religious people bothered by it? But Jesus was never bothered by it. It's one of my favorite stories when we talk about doubt. I've shared this story with you all before. Some of you might remember it. And do you remember at the end of Matthew's gospel? Remember, pay attention to the end. It's right after Jesus rises from the dead. And then he tells his people, he says, I want you to go meet me at this sacred place on top of this mountain. And some of you, I lose you because you say, no, see, Ryan, that's a problem. I don't believe in dead people being raised and then walking around. And I would say to you, well, wait a minute, maybe your whole view needs to expand. Because we're talking about resurrection. And if you are in recovery, you are living proof of the dead being raised to life. So maybe it's just expanding the categories. And Jesus says, listen, I want you to meet me on top of this mountain. And he goes and meets his people on top of this mountain. It's the very end of the story. And Matthew gives us this line. Check it out. When they saw him, comma, they worshiped him, comma, but some doubted. Why would Matthew put that in there? I mean, he could have just did the first part and he could have left that second part out of it. It's like, why when it gets to the very peak of the story does Matthew say, oh, by the way, a lot of his own followers, they doubted. I mean, what a buzzkill, right? And keep in mind, the New Testament is written in the Greek. You see that word doubted? The Greek word for doubt is this word distazo. Say it with me, distazo. Yeah, it literally translates as distant, standing at a distance, uncertainty, vacillating between which way to go. And isn't it interesting when you read this gospel, Matthew is not trying to convince us of anything. Because we say, well, Matthew, if you're trying to convince us that Jesus is who he said he was, well, why would you put that? No. Matthew is not trying to convince us of anything. Matthew is giving us profound insight on what it means to be human. That some people, you might know these people, they just believe and they're good with it. And then other people, maybe people like you and me, well, you stand at a distance and you're not exactly sure what to do with it all. And in this story, it all belongs. You see, it's about acknowledging the full spectrum of the human experience, belief and unbelief, certainty and uncertainty, moments when things are really clear, and then moments when things are really muddy. And listen, y'all, I know when it comes to the God stuff, many of you have experienced like serious doubt. You've experienced big questions. And sometimes what happens is you show up to your recovery, you show up to a spiritual life, you show up here free, and you stand at a distance. And it's okay. I mean, it's okay. For some of you, it's not even that you're angry or just so disillusioned or that you have all this baggage. Man, you just got some honest questions about the God stuff. You got some honest questions about a spiritual life, and it's okay. It's okay. I would tell you, keep going. Keep asking your questions, even when it's hard. Keep asking those big questions, even when you're afraid of where those questions lead you. Even if going down this path of questions, it causes the old thing to totally crumble, keep going. It's all part of the process, and it's central to your spiritual growth. Keep asking the questions, even when some people might say to you, you're a heathen, you're a heretic, or they call you something else. Keep going. And I'll close with this. Because see, questions, if you allow them, they can create space for awe and wonder. Last Sunday and Monday, me and Carrie and Ben is our community operations manager. We got in the car and we headed towards Salida, Colorado. It's about 2.5 hours from here. And we were going to meet our buddy Eric Birchfield, who's also part of this community. And he's been inviting us down there for quite some time. And we were actually going there to scope out if it was a possible place where we could hold a 2-day retreat. And for Free Recovery Community, raise your hand if you'd be interested in a 2-day retreat up in the beautiful mountains of Salida. Yeah, we're going to do that this summer. We'll give you more details as they come out. So we get there, and it's right on the river, the Arkansas River. And here's what you need to know about Eric. Eric has a raft, because Eric used to be a river guide, take people down the river. and we get in his raft. And we start floating. Beautiful sunny day, no wind, perfect weather. The other thing you should know about Eric is a fly fisherman. In fact, he used to be a fly fishing guide, and so I've never fly fished in my life. I'm from the Midwest. We did bass and catfish and casting and bobbers, and well, it's very different than fly fishing, and he taught us how to fly fish. Taught me, and Ben had done it one other time. Carrie's never going to touch a fishing pole in her life. And so Ben and I are sitting in the front of the raft, and for 3 straight hours floating down this river, we're taking turns just casting this fly. And I'm very proud to let you know that I caught my very first trout while fly fishing, and it's not awkward at all. Ben was trying to give my fish a kiss. So we get done on the river, get done floating and fishing, and had this beautiful day, and then we had dinner together. Eric cooked us the most marvelous dinner right near the river. And it gets dark, and, well, we went outside. And when we went outside, we were each just going to go our own separate ways back to our rooms. And instead, we just, stared at this not-so-empty sky, and we just stared at it for, 30 minutes. And do you know those times where it's like you could see every star in the universe, but you know there's so much more, but it feels like you can see everything? And some of these stars were even shooting down. And so I take out my iPhone and I snapped a photo, and we got this photo. Yeah, evidently that's the Milky Way. And as we were standing out there looking at this not so empty sky, Eric, he dropped this line. It was all quiet, and he says, "I feel so small." He didn't say, "I feel so unworthy," or I feel so insignificant. I feel so small. And it wasn't from a place of shame. It was from a place of mystery and awe and wonder. Because, y'all, let's just be honest. If you have all the answers, if you have it all figured out, mystery and awe and wonder, they're done with because you have it all figured out. If you have it all figured out, you have become a god, and now life is very boring. You see, the stars whisper to you, you don't have to have it all figured out. The stars whisper, they give you the reminder, you are not a machine. You are not ChatGPT. You are skin and bones and flesh and spirit, and you have questions and doubts and longings and wonderings. The stars whisper to you. Creation, just like suffering cracks something open, creation can do the same thing. It can whisper to you, you don't have to have all the answers. All you have to do is keep going and allow those questions to create enough space for just a bit of awe and wonder. So here's what we'll do. I want to play a song for you. This song, anyone seen the movie The Shack or read the book The Shack? Yeah, I highly recommend it. It does a great job at wrestling with the questions, holding the tension. This song is called Stars, and it's from the movie The Shack. It was in the movie. I invite you to take a moment and reflect. What are your questions? Where have your questions led you? Take a moment.
friends, welcome back. If you're new with us, you should know that every Saturday we invite a community member up into the living room to share some of their experience, strength, and hope with us. This week, it's really exciting because this one's a little bit personal for us here at Free. So if you guys look around the room, we have these 4 signs, and these pillars kind of tell you, I know we start in the beginning and we say we don't do shame, right? And authenticity is how we like to show up, where we say that, like, we talk about things raw. We just talk about things that, like, we can come as our full selves. And then recovery is obviously what we hope to do and like embody on a daily basis. But new life is something that a lot of people don't quite understand until they get to experience it for themselves and witness it in others. So our next guest storyteller, he came to us and he was looking for a job, and he was actually having a hard time finding employment, not because he's not a good worker, not because he doesn't have good ethics, not because he isn't an extraordinary person, but he was having trouble finding a job because of his criminal background. But here at Free, one of the wonderful things that we get to do is we actually get to embody what it means to have new life, what recovery looks like, and the different areas that we actually get to together actually practice what we preach here. So the next guy, he is actually part of our Café staff. He's a wonderful individual who, I can't wait for you guys to meet him, but he has an extraordinary story. So please help me welcome up Chris to the living room.
I didn't pick that picture.
Well, I'm glad you came back, so it wasn't so scary last time. So thanks for joining us. I know you usually work in the cafe, so thanks for those getting us covered in the cafe tonight. So if you're watching out there, thank you. Chris, I want to start. I often say that people's addiction is one of the least interesting things about them, but I do think it's important to get a little bit of a frame of reference of kind of what it looked like before you entered recovery. So can you tell us a little bit about what your addiction looked like?
Sure. So I have been, well, honestly, a heroin addict for about 20 years. I've had multiple stints at recovery, the longest being about 2 years long. Prior to that, though, I really, I was in college for database engineering, so I'm a real, numbers guy, facts, numbers. I need to, see it in front of me. I need to be able to do an equation to figure it out. Faith really never factored into anything. I had been agnostic for probably, 39, 40 years of my life, and so anytime I'd been working a program in recovery, I'd consistently heard, well, it's a spiritual program, you need to have a higher power. I would consistently say, well, I'm agnostic, I've got this, don't talk to me about that. Just never really opening up my ears or my eyes to anything that wasn't right in front of me that I could honestly grasp with math, logic, facts. Yeah.
How'd that work out for you, though?
Not great. Not going to be honest.
But
going to be honest. Yeah.
But you had some miraculous little synchronicities that happened towards the end of your recovery, or not end of your recovery, the end of your addiction, that kind of led you to seek recovery, hopefully for the final time. Can you tell us kind of what those were and how it kind of made you question, is this all just random, or is there something out there that is possibly I need to start looking at?
Certainly. So anytime I'm in my addiction, like a lot of people, I sell drugs to fuel my addiction, to pay for my own addiction. And of course, my last relapse, that's from day one, as soon as I relapsed, that's exactly what I went to doing. I know that very well. I've done it a long time. Not proud of it by any means. I got a phone call from somebody that was, across the street from my apartment, literally directly across the street, asking me if I could meet them there, sell them some drugs. Even though I knew it was a very high risk for me when I'm, in that state of addiction, it's not really risk doesn't really factor into it. I went to leave to go meet this person, and as I was leaving the apartment, something literally I still can't explain it to this day, but had me turn a different way and kind of just go this extra long route to just literally go across the street. And as I did that, I circle around and see all these cops just sitting there facing the exact location that I was going to meet. I mean, it immediately occurred to me that I had been, set up, and which is understandable. It happens, but I had a lot of legal consequences hanging over my head. I mean, I'm a 6-time convicted felon, and this would have been essentially my 3rd strike. And had I gone through with this, I, obviously would have been arrested, and actually this time it would have been a 48-year prison sentence.
I want to stop you there because you had made the comment about how you didn't quite know, like you can't explain what made you turn the other direction. But you've had other incidences that don't have logical explanations to them when you were looking to enter in treatment that you had done before in the past. Can you tell us why this time looked different?
Certainly. So I had been to this treatment center before for detox. I called them again. This is a great program, and typically the way they work is you have to call them for every day for about at least a week, just so they can make sure you really want it, you really want to be a part of the program. I knew I didn't have the insurance to cover it, so I was just gonna go to detox there and at least get clean for 7 days, get all the toxins out of my body so that I could actually give recovery another chance. After the drug deal that I narrowly avoided, I went home, I flushed everything I had, I called rehab, asked them if they could get me in. They said, like they do all the time, call back tomorrow, keep calling back until we can get you in. I called them back the next day. They said, not today, try back tomorrow. And at that point, I'd continued using. I didn't call. A day went by, and then they started calling me, which was really weird. Everybody I know that's been there was like, well, they never call me. Made an appointment to go in, and then I kept using and blew that appointment off. And it happened for about 2 or 3 days. They just kept calling and kept calling. Eventually, I made it there. When I got there, I knew I didn't have the insurance. I also called my parole officer when I got there, who I had been, very much avoiding for quite some time. Told him where I was, that everything's going to be okay now. I'm in treatment. He was like, well, what's the address? I gave him the address, and he said, well, I'll be there to arrest you tomorrow. And that was not something I saw coming. Later that day, my case manager, I didn't ask her to do this. I didn't even sign a release of information, so I'm pretty sure it wasn't even legal. But she called my parole officer later without me knowing, explained the situation to him, explained that I was really trying, and he agreed not to arrest me, slapped me with this nice little ankle monitor. And then, I was very grateful for that. Couldn't explain why that happened. I mean, she went completely against protocol, contacting somebody without a release of information. Then they asked me if I wanted to stay in the program for the full 30 days. I mean, this is an $80,000 program. I had no insurance whatsoever. It was just a huge blessing. So I definitely took them up on that. Also, that same day that I decided to do that, the man who would be my therapist while I was there was just getting back from a 2-month vacation where he had been out of state setting up another rehab. I mean, he wrote the curriculum for the one I was in. He had set up multiple rehabs around the country. He's an amazing person. And I mean, at that moment, I just started to notice so many little things that had fallen into place, so many miracles that had fallen into place, from me narrowly avoiding going to prison for the rest of my life to getting into this rehab that I had no business being at because I didn't have anywhere near the money to pay for it or the insurance, to the most amazing therapist I've ever had, who wrote the curriculum for the entire treatment program, just getting back from vacation on that exact day to be my therapist. And so many little things just started falling into place that I couldn't explain. And finally something happened that I'd been waiting for so long, which, I mean, my eyes just kind of opened, and I just was able to realize that when I stopped trying to control things, when I stopped trying to play master of the universe and let things happen and actually go with it, that, amazing things were happening in my life. Like, I didn't deserve to have maybe I did deserve to have those chances, but I didn't feel like I deserved to have them at the time. And just something outside of me was obviously working in my favor, because, I mean, statistically, all those amazing things shouldn't have happened in that short period of time for me to be in the exact right place at the exact right time.
So the math and science guy in you, and you said the word miracles, and you said that this outside of you, that that it's something bigger than you, that you're plotting and planning, all of your best thinking kind of got you into right where you are. How do you explain that like that? So when you're wrestling with that, because I know you had said, that you were agnostic, right? But this power greater than you, like, how would you explain that today? What does that look like?
For me, as I said, I've been agnostic. I always felt like there was something out there, but I couldn't put a name on it, couldn't, identify it. And really, I just had to sit back and just look at the possibilities of how that all could have possibly happened. I've been a lucky guy throughout my life, but not that lucky. I don't know anybody that's been that lucky. I honestly just had to take a step back and realize that even though I'd had multiple years clean before, everything I did got me to be right where I was. And I actually just had to take an honest, open look at everything and realize that, maybe everything I'd been hearing over the years about it being a spiritual program, about, having a higher power, maybe that was my higher power, working in my favor. And I honestly knew that I didn't have any more chances. With narrowly escaping spending the rest of my life in prison. And I also, once I came to all that realization, I just had this newfound peace. My mind has always been such a chaotic, fast-paced place where I'm worrying about the past or worrying about the future, but never staying right in that moment. And ever since, getting that peace, even if it was just for an hour, fortunately it's been longer than an hour, but that was just like a reassurance that that was the right path for me.
What I love so much, which last service you would use the words that you would question at times that religion or spirituality or higher power was a cop-out. And that was one of the things that you were a little bit not completely on solid footing, but I hear you talk about the peace that you feel when you do choose to believe there is a higher power, or you do choose to believe that you're not the one in control, and how much peace there is when you kind of leave that job to someone perhaps a little bit more qualified. To somebody who's out there who's struggling to believe, again, maybe it's their math or science brain questioning this, maybe it's the baggage from their childhood where they saw that, like, oh, that religion, isn't really quite what I'm looking for, but the peace is. They want that peace. So to the person who's still out there questioning, is this a cop-out? How could you either give some reassurance or even tell someone, nudge them along the way, that you too can choose to believe that a higher power is in control?
Sure. So, if you're a numbers person like I am, and if you can just sit back and look at the tiny little things that have gone in your favor that you don't feel like should have, that you actually didn't control when you stopped trying to control things. If you can see those just start working in your favor, and you can actually just, every person, I believe, can feel it like inside of themselves when something is going in the right direction, and they have that choice to choose whether or not to follow that or not. If they can just hold on to that and actually give it a shot and try, they're going to be okay. And honestly, if you don't believe in miracles, you don't believe in little things going your way, if you've ever done enough drugs to kill you like I have in my life and you're still here, that's going to be a miracle.
That's amazing. And I know you're going to stick around. And then again, I would really encourage you guys, next time you're in here and you see him in the cafe, strike up a conversation with him. He's a very intellectual guy, but the more you get to know him, he does soften, and he does open for mysteries of the unknown too. But one final question to the person who is still out there, and I know we kind of touched on it about perhaps that the cop out, right, or not quite feeling. What would you say, because then we're in this question series and we're asking people to submit their questions next week, but to that person who's out there who's perhaps holding on to a question where they don't feel safe enough to ask it, they don't feel safe enough coming into a space like this saying, I don't really believe in organized religion. We've had people with Ryan, it's I don't like pastors. I'm you don't even know Ryan, but they're nope, I don't like pastors, right? But that contempt prior to investigation, what would you say to someone to start encouraging them to have safety in those questions?
Yeah, 100%. So, if anybody, I feel like if anybody can speak on that, I'm highly qualified to speak on that. I've been completely averse to religion and completely agnostic, borderline atheist for, 40 years now. And if in just a few short months I can go from doing that to actually working in an amazing place like this, like, honestly, you just have to give it a shot. You know, go with your heart, go with what feels right, ask questions. Ryan's amazing, Carrie's amazing. Just give it a shot. You literally have nothing to lose. If it's not what you like, you can always go back to what you were doing before.
And be careful what you wish for, because it might get you on the couch talking about
It
God before
definitely
you know
might.
it. Can you guys give it up for Chris? Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris. Good to have you here, brother. Carrie, thank you for being up here with Chris. I love the reframing we get to do around here. I love how you reframed miracles. In fact, I said it last service, the one-liners that get dropped here that are just so tweetable. I won't tweet it out, but yeah, if you did drugs like I did and you're still alive, that's a miracle. It's a miracle. Just a bunch of little miracles walking around here, isn't it, Kai? Yeah, look what we get to do. All right, y'all. The way we close down here on a Saturday night is with very similar to celebrations, but we call these heartaches because what we know is, yeah, sometimes we try to walk around the world and carry these burdens on our shoulders, and we're going to tough it out, and we're going to do it alone, and you find out you suck at doing it alone, and you don't have to. That's why we have community. That's why we have a God who hears the cries of the people. You don't have to walk it alone. So we take 3 minutes for this. If you need some prayer, some encouragement, some lifting up, that's what this time is for. You just got to take the mic and speak that heartache, that burden into the mic. And again, if you're joining us online, drop your heartache in the YouTube comments or the Facebook comments, and we will join with you there. Let's take 3 minutes. This time is yours.
I'm Sheila, and I just asked for prayers for my daughter. Just got a phone call 5 minutes before service that she's in the emergency room and she's going to be admitted, and I don't know where or why, but we need your prayers.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, Sheila. And many of you know Margie. Margie and Sheila are always sitting together and here every week. Prayers for Marjorie.
My name is Russ. I would ask for prayers for my friend Lou, who is he's struggling with an incredible amount of pain and was just diagnosed with dementia onset, and he's decided to travel to Switzerland to get an assisted, for them to help him transition.
All right.
That's for Lou.
Prayers for Lou. Thank you for sharing that with us, Russ.
This is Carrie. I just wanted to shout out again the Allison family tomorrow. Here tomorrow, if you guys, the Allison family, they usually come to the 5 p.m. service. But Tani, for many, many years, has been coming here, and tomorrow is her celebration of life here tomorrow at Free.
Yeah, and you are invited to that. It's at 2 o'clock. Tani was part of this community, and her family, John and Carrie, part of this community almost from the very beginning. And it was a fentanyl overdose that took her, which, Kai, it's why it's so important you mention those days of being free from fentanyl to show that it is possible. But you are invited tomorrow, too, to celebrate her life and support the family.
Hi, I'm Sherry, and I'm asking for prayers for my son who's 24. He had his car broken into and his pedal board was stolen with about $4,000 worth of guitar pedals, and that's his whole livelihood. So he's in 5 bands, and he's a music teacher and teaches at School of Rock, and he can't work without all that. And he couldn't afford renter's insurance, so he's trying to figure out how to find his pedals.
Yeah. Prayers for him. That went fast. Russ, you want to join me up here?
Sure.
to read some online community members' comments.
Certainly.
Dude, is Cincinnati winning?
You know, I'm so involved in this service.
Oh, that's right. That was a good answer, Russ. I am so involved with God right now. I don't care about baseball. Russ is a Mets fan. Go Mets.
Yeah.
Our screen is out up here. So, Russ, that means we're going to have to turn around. You want to read the first one?
This is from Christian Hawley, looking for a job. Please, please say prayers so I have my faith.
All right, Christian. Lifting you up tonight. Prayers for you. Potato Zinc. Surely that's not the real name, but we are going to call you Potato Zinc. Prayer request for my 3 loved ones, healing from recent severe vehicle accidents, 2 with concussions, the other in a wheelchair, and long recovery to walk ahead. Yes, prayers for you and those loved ones, prayers for recovery and healing and everything that we need for life.
This is from Kaylin Milam. My grandma is in serious pain and has blood and bone cancer. Please pray for my grandma and my family, me, my baby's dad, and our daughter. Many prayers.
Prayers for the family, lifting you up. And King Bumble 7. Man, the names on her is just so great. I love y'all. Prayers for healing. All right, prayers for you for healing in whatever the capacity that is, lifting you up, encouraging you. Thank you, Russ, for being up here with me, man. Thanks for being a service tonight, brother. Appreciate you. All right, y'all. If you've been impacted by the mission here, breaking the silence of addiction while creating space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection, if you call this place your home, as I said last service, if we are your homies, if they are your homies, well, we do rely upon your generosity here. We are funded by your giving, your donations, and I know many of you have made that part of a spiritual practice in your life, and it's new for you, and you're like, what the heck do I do? And many of you have made it a sacrificial practice in your life, and I just want to take a moment and say thank you. It truly does make a difference here. It's how we fund the mission, how we keep it going, how we keep this place going. If you want to donate, there's a few different ways you could do it. You can download the app, Free Recovery Community. All of our content is on that app. Messages, guest storytellers. There's a giving button. You can give. You can set it up to give it one time or make it a recurring donation and give monthly, weekly, however you want to do it. We're grateful for all of it. Or you can do the same thing on a website, freerecoverycommunity.com. And if you have cash or check, those 2 kiosks, one outside these doors, one outside these doors, you can place it there. And there's the Kind kiosk, which is the one-tap system, like the Apple Pay system. It's just outside these doors on your right. It's kind of fun to use, and all of it makes a difference. Thank you for being a part of it. And online people who, man, many of you have never been here, but you call this place home. And, well, we're glad you have a community. We're glad you're part of this community. Shall we go out with a prayer? Yeah, I think we should. I'll invite you to just open up the hands. Just a simple sign of openness. Spirit moving and breathing in our midst. Breathing life through us and in us and all around us. Yeah, take a big deep breath. Maybe tonight you're open to questions. Maybe tonight you're open to give yourself to mystery and awe and wonder. And you can just breathe a little bit because you don't have to have it all figured out. You just get to keep going. If you don't know the set-aside prayer, well, it's on your screen and we'll pray it together. It goes like this. God, today help me set aside everything I think I know about you, everything I think I know about myself, everything I think I know about others, and everything I think I know about my own recovery so that I may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help me see the truth. Amen, and grace and peace to you all. We'll see you next time.